and 11 today, 211. And we have Dave in Osaka, amazing live streamer, joining us today. Thanks for joining, Dave.
Good morning, Joy.
How you doing?
I'm doing good. I'm here in my hotel.
Yeah, you've had this amazing journey. You've been traveling all over the place.
Yeah, I was up through the past month. I've been in Tohoku almost the whole time there, and just a little brief time now. I've been in Tokyo for the past few days, getting back to the city life, I guess.
Okay, it looks like I might have done something weird and we have lost our screen. Has
Okay,
anyone joined us? Can you see the screen?
I see the messages. Yeah, people are here.
Oh, okay. People are joining.
Yeah.
Thanks for joining. Hi, Jeff.
Hi,
Hi,
Jeff.
Pepe
Hi,
Baez.
Linda.
Hi, Dean. So you can also see all the messages. Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay, good. And that's one thing we're doing today. Dave and I are both on HAPS. So we're trying this live stream from HAPS for the first time. Usually I use a different system. But Dave, one of the benefits for you as a guest is you're able to see the comments as well as I am. Usually
Yeah.
it's only me that can see that and read it out.
Oh, really?
So that's definitely a benefit of using this system.
Mm-hmm.
Now you are a big Periscope guy. How you feeling about the end of Periscope? Tell us a bit about your journey. How are you transitioning?
Well, yeah, I'm obviously very sad, along with most of the people in the community, especially people who've been using it for the past 6 years. Today is the 6th anniversary of Periscope. It was released today 6 years ago, so kind of a bittersweet day today since there's only a few days left. Yeah, I'm very sad to see it go. The app is going. I know the Twitter live function is going to continue, and I hope they're going to continue to develop that and especially open up the API so people can multi-stream to it and still access everybody on Twitter. But until then, I'm going to I'm going to continue multi-streaming. I think a lot of people have learned the lesson that not to put all your eggs in one basket, especially with this situation. So, and that's been happening for the past few months. People have been multi-streaming, just trying to attract people from the different platforms and growing the communities on the different platforms. And yeah, going forward, I'm going to do that. I'm using Prism Live Studio to multi-stream and HAPS also to multi-stream. So
Yeah,
that's the
cool.
plan, at least.
Well, you have been such a great inspiration to me getting started with live streaming. I remember I just starting on Periscope and I'm walking around trying to do some live streams. And then I found you and I was following your live streams and I was so impressed. And you were on the Seeking Sustainability Live last year talking about
Yeah.
geisha culture and documenting some of the geisha dances. We've had Peter McIntosh on, and you did
Yeah.
some connections with him in Kyoto. Is that right?
I just met him one time at the Erikaya, when the Maiko become the Geiko, they present them to the public and they visit the different geisha houses. So I ran into him there. I was familiar with him. He's obviously a big guy in the community, in the geisha community, and just in Kyoto in general, with his tours and the knowledge of the geisha, that whole the Karyukai. So I ran into him there, and yeah, I had a chat with him. He's a fellow Canadian, and it was good to connect with him. And yeah,
That's great. Yeah, he has so many great insights into geisha culture. So that was nice to talk to him after I talked to you because you had all those beautiful videos and photos from one of the performances. And then you told me he had helped arrange that for you. So he's making it more accessible to visitors. That's wonderful to see
yeah,
on both sides, right? The organizer and the spectator.
yeah, absolutely, yeah. And Paprika Girl too. She has so much knowledge about all the kimono and the culture too. So
Yeah, that's right. And she often comes to Kyoto. So you guys are in that same Kansai region, right?
yeah, right.
Yeah. So in terms of live streaming, let's just talk a little bit about the technicals, because you have such high quality, amazing live streams. For example, you were just in the Japan Alps showing everybody this beautiful cafe. Tell us
Oh
a
yeah.
little bit about like the technicals. How do you get such high quality footage while you're live streaming on location?
Well, I think one huge help is being in Japan. That helps a lot. We have an amazing network, amazing connection. I think a lot of people always say signal. People who are broadcasting from Japan often have very clear signal. So I think we have that behind us. At the same time, we're paying a lot of money. It's very, very expensive. I think one of the most expensive in the world. And that's one of the things you're seeing, even the government intervening. I don't know how much that is just for show in the front, but they're intervening on reducing prices because it is so expensive. But we do get that quality of in the image. So that's one thing is just the signal that we have here and the network that we have is very good. Another thing is being selective where you broadcast. So if you do have a bad signal uh, and it's kind of iffy, maybe I just don't do it. A lot of times, if you're really, really serious, like I know some people are, they'll do a walkthrough too. They'll walk through where they're going to go, they'll plan their route. If they see anything that's going to knock the signal off, then they just won't do it. And another thing is you can do Open Signal is another website. If you're going to different locations, different countries, there's a website called Open Signal, which is a crowdsourcing website, and it'll actually show you uh, how strong it is. People will report and say very good. If it's green, it's very good. If it's orange, not so good. If it's red, it means they didn't have anything. So if you're going to other countries or remote locations, that helped me a lot too. Another thing is having the latest phone, the latest camera. I have iPhone 12 Pro Max, so it's the latest version, and it's just amazing the lens quality, the three lenses it has, super wide to telephoto, or the quality just incredible. Just and I came from iPhone 10, and just that jump was amazing in terms of the visuals. So
Yeah. I'm showing a screenshot from your video on YouTube
okay,
right now, and it's the quality of the mountain view is just incredible, and it's so crisp. And you said you were shooting in HD. Can you tell us a little bit about the cameras that you're using to get such great images?
so in Prism Live Studio is a encoder, and it's pretty powerful because you can set the uh, the quality of your stream for up to 1080. So I think in order to do that, you have to have a very, very strong connection, and I did up there. So I thought that kind of that panorama just demanded the highest quality, and so that's what I did. I set it to 1080p, and you can only do that through to YouTube. The other platforms you can't do that. So if you're multi streaming, you can't do it in HD. But if you're streaming directly to YouTube with Prism Live, you can set it to 1080, and you can set the frame rate higher too if you want. That'll really push it high. But you want to turn variable bit rate on. Variable bit rate is like it'll adjust to your connection and maximize it, and also the people viewing too. So that's what I did in that specific situation.
Yeah,
I didn't have my laptop, Timo.
that sounds sounds like good advice. You're also using a gimbal to make sure things are steady. Is that right?
Yeah, because with multi-streaming, it does not tap into the phone's stabilization. So you do need a gimbal to make it as steady as possible. So yeah, I use a DJI OM4, the latest one, which is excellent.
Awesome. Well, let's give a shout out to some of the comments here. Dean says, is there any American state where the Wi-Fi is as good as Japan? I
I
don't
don't know.
know.
I'm trying to think if I ever broadcast in the United States. I don't think I ever have. I've never broadcast in the United States.
And Timo is asking, do you have your laptop there? Actually, when we were testing, you were on your laptop and now you're on your phone, right? And we found the connection was better on your phone this morning.
Yeah, right. Yeah, it's definitely much better here on this phone.
Yeah. So how much can you give us a ballpark? Is it about 10,000 yen a month that you're paying for this great like cellular service? Because you said it's expensive. I remember when I was on like a main plan, it was about 13,000 a month. They're not cheap, right?
No, there's no, they used to have the unlimited data plans when we was on 3G. We used to have the unlimited data plans. That was great, but I wasn't broadcasting that. When it got to 4G, that's when they stopped it, and uh, any additional gigabyte was $10. And because you're broadcasting, if you're going on a higher resolution, you're using more. It was expensive. I'll just say that it was very, very expensive.
You gave me
Sometimes,
some great advice because I've been trying a few different things. I'm trying not to pay too much every month, but I'm not sure if I can get around it because if you're live streaming all the time, maybe you need to pay more and have the unlimited data. Is that what you're finding?
there's the new plan called I don't know if you use SoftBank. Do you use SoftBank? There's I think you're on mute.
Okay,
Or
yeah,
you,
it
okay,
it changes depending on the region I'm in, but also you're shooting in rural, and I've had the most trouble trying to shoot in the rural areas on the go. The connection, even if I pay for an extra pocket Wi-Fi, the connection is just not good enough, right? So you've been doing really well out in the middle of the mountains.
I think it's SoftBank. If you're dealing directly with SoftBank, the connection is very good. If you go with the other companies, the smaller companies, all they're doing is they're renting the bandwidth from SoftBank and Docomo. So I think that they're getting a less than ideal speed. So if you're going directly through, excuse me, if you're going directly through SoftBank, I noticed it's much, much faster. If I've ever had any pocket Wi-Fi, it's always just a little bit less of a quality. So I think going directly to the company is the most, but again, you're going to pay so much more.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, for doing multi-streaming interviews like I've been doing every day, just past 200 since last year. It's crazy. But I'm usually using Ecamm and Skype connection with the guest and then multi-streaming. And the quality seems really good as long as people are both, the guest and I are both on computers.
mhm.
I've never tried it from my phone. I can't imagine it would work very well. It's also the problem of not having the app on your phone. So that's a
Okay,
great thing about Haps, right? That you could do it on your phone, but sometimes I've seen
yeah.
that you do broadcast directly to YouTube and you don't use Haps because the quality just wasn't as good. Is that right?
Sometimes, yeah, I don't know why. Maybe one app will be much clearer than the other. So I'll go on Prism and I'll do it there, or maybe I'll just stay on Haps. Sometimes, who knows? You just have to test it, and one works better than the other. You never know. You just gotta keep on testing it. That's what I find. So
Yeah. Well, let's switch gears a little bit and talk about this amazing trip that you're doing this month. You were able to be in the Tohoku area on kind of the 10-year anniversary of the Tohoku disaster. Tell us a little bit about your visit there and how you saw things 10 years later after the earthquake, tsunami, nuclear disaster. You went to two key places, looks like one in the museum, and you saw some of the disaster buildings that they've kept there as kind of a living legacy of what happened. Should we talk
Yeah.
about that first? That just looks really powerful.
Yeah, the two, there was Rikuzen Takata was the one location, and the other museum was in, I think that, I should say they all have museums. Like, you know, 10 years later, obviously everything is about the tsunami. Everything that happened, it's something you see everywhere. I was thinking about that when I was going there. Should I show anything or should I not? Well, you can't avoid it. It's something you can't avoid. It's there whether you want to show it or not. If you are, you're just trying to ignore, but it's impossible. Even if you don't go to the museums, it's in your face every day. So I can't imagine what those people are going through. But the museums that I visited, one was in Kamaishi on the Sanriku coast, and then the other one was in Rikuzen Takata. And the two places that really stuck out to me were Rikuzen Takata and Minami Sanriku. They were totally devastated, and even still, there's almost nothing there, and nothing, very very little rebuilt. Completely flattened. The the coastal area, right in front of the water, is gone, and there's very little rebuilt, because why would anybody want to rebuild there again? Or they're still rebuilding, and or people have passed away, or they're still displaced, or they moved on somewhere else, and they're still just totally devastated. Another thing is that they're what they're doing is those two places, because the front of the city was sea level. They're raising it 10 meters. They're raising the whole ground 10 meters, but with landfill, and they're still doing it. You can see the machines like filling it up, and they just to make it a little bit safer, raising it those extra 10 meters. They're still building the breakwaters out in the water. Minami Sanriku is still not completed. I think looks like they're almost done, and then Rikuzen Takata, I think that they're finished. But that was definitely the biggest impact. Is 10 years later, it's clean. All the rubble is gone, and the land is cleared, but there's still almost not much there. And those things haven't been rebuilt, and I wonder if they ever will.
Yeah,
I
it's
really
really
wonder.
powerful. And in the Seeking Sustainability Live series, I've talked to a few people who've written books about the Tohoku disaster and going up after, trying to help with reconstruction and help support the local people. And this is one of the things that they've said when they've revisited this year, is how it's either completely open and empty and nobody's rebuilding, or there's just huge walls everywhere. And
Yeah.
both experiences are really powerful, and it makes you really aware of what devastation happened there. That must have been really powerful to see in person.
Yeah. There were even temporary shelters. It looked like just makeshift shelters in Kamaishi. Like the aluminum siding, kind of very simple places that people are living there. I'm not sure if it was elderly people living there, but there's still people living like that 10 years later. Uh, and yeah, you just think, where are these people? Where did they go? Are they somewhere else? Did they pass away? Uh, I just can't imagine. And another thing too, another point is people living there. They have basically resigned themselves to the fact that every generation, at least, they're going to go through a tsunami. If you look back 100 years, I know back until at least 1896. I'm sure even before that, since 1896, every generation there has been a tsunami. The one in 1896, that one also had the same amount of fatalities as this one, 2011. 21,500 people passed away, and wiped out the communities then. In 1930, there was another one. I don't recall. I think that was quite far away, but it still affected that coast. 1960 was a Chilean earthquake, and even there, people passed away from the tsunami coming from there. And in 2011, it happened again, just like it did in 1896, the same amount of fatalities. So people have resigned themselves to the fact they're going to go through this. If they're going to stay here with their families every generation, it's something that they have to go through. Unfortunately, the last one, I guess, was that so much time had passed since 1896, just that they didn't imagine it was going to be that big, and that's why there were so many more fatalities this time. They weren't prepared.
When I talked to Carolyn Pover, who wrote the book 1 Month in Tohoku, and
Okay.
she ended up going up for a month after she collected loads of donations and clothing and supplies that people needed, and she delivered it up to the area. She ended up in a fishing village, and actually nobody in that village had died because most of them were on their boats. They saw the signs
Uh,
of a tsunami coming and they went further out to sea and
yeah,
survived. And people who were in the village knew to escape to higher ground. It was a miracle that they all survived. But it shows that people, especially living on the coast in Tohoku, they're very accustomed to natural
yeah,
disasters, right?
yeah, yeah,
And so
exactly.
it makes it even more sad that there were people who did die and couldn't get to higher ground, right?
Do you know what town that was? Do you know which one it was she went to?
Yeah, I should know, and I can find out
That's okay.
very easily. I'll have to review the interview with her, but
Okay,
yeah,
this
it sounded like a really amazing place.
this is another important thing kind of related to that. Every city had a different height of the wave, and wherever you go in all those communities along the coast, any building, any kind of major building that's a little bit higher will have the marker. This is where the last one was in 2011. So Kamaishi, the first one I went to, it was 7.5 meters, and and all the buildings 7.5. Another Rikuzen Takata was 16.5 meters. And what was another? The other one was 14 meters in Minami Sanriku. But the highest one was in Miyako, which is the northern part. I didn't go there. It was 40.5 meters, 40 meters. So that's the variation in the height of the wave, and whatever the geography, I guess, affects the how high it will go. But
Wow,
that's almost 7 to 10 stories, 7 to 8 stories, or something like that. How
that
can you
is
prepare? How can you know
no,
you're high enough?
you can't ever prepare for that. That's just incredible. Timo says, would you say the Japanese have an amazing ability to cope after catastrophes? This is definitely something I would say about Japanese people that I'm often told by Japanese people too, is that they're very used to natural disasters and they cope with big disasters quite well, very resilient. And that is such an amazing thing about a lot of people, Japanese character. I'm based in Hiroshima, so I have seen, and talked to and know so many Hiroshima people
Yeah,
who have that sense of resilience and the
totally.
go on with your life and let's move forward. And it's amazing. It's a wonderful thing I've seen over and over. How about you, Dave?
I think you can answer that question better than me with all those people you've spoken to, but uh, I definitely agree. Like, you've got tsunamis, you've got earthquakes, you got volcanoes, you got all those things. And if you look through the generations, they've all had to go through it, and they're still here. There's still a country here. There's still 130 million people here. So I would say the answer is yes. They can deal with it. It's just part of life.
Dean has a good question here. Have either of you, while scoping outside, ever been at a scene of a newsworthy event? In Hiroshima, I often go to the August 6th memorial event. So that's, of course, covered by news around the world. You can catch people doing demonstrations and speeches and interviews with people. That's probably, for me, the most newsworthy events that I've covered. How about you, Dave?
Trying to think. The one I was in Myanmar and there was an earthquake, and I just finished broadcasting in a place called Bagan, and there's all these ancient temples made of stone there, and the earthquake uh, crumbled a few of the temples. Like there's so much damage in that area, and I filmed it. I broadcast it live after that. So that's another thing that shows the power of live streaming, bringing people images and what's going on in a place where news crews took days to get there. It was about 3 or 4 days later that international news crews got there. But thanks to live streaming, or even just social media and the internet, people were posting images and, of what happened and what was going on immediately.
Yeah, that's amazing. I remember watching your live stream when you were at the glaciers. Was that in Helsinki? Where were you? Like you were somewhere on the North Cape, maybe, and you were documenting glaciers. Were you in Iceland?
That was Greenland.
Greenland.
Uh, yeah, I was in Ilulissat on the uh, west coast of Greenland, and it's a I think it's the second biggest community in the country. I think second or third biggest in the country, and yeah, I have no idea how I got a signal there, but I was right on the edge of that gorge, looking over the ice field there, and yeah, I had a perfect signal, and
It's incredible, and it's something that I think a lot about, being focused on sustainability. Of course, the melting ice caps and stuff, and to know someone and to watch someone live streaming from the glaciers and the ice kind of moving around. It was an incredible scene. I am so jealous of all your amazing travels. Thank you so much for sharing it with us.
thanks.
Let's go back to some of your photos here. You've got some photos that look like a phone booth. Tell us
Oh
the
yeah.
story of this.
So in Kamaishi, just east of Morioka in Iwate, there's Kamaishi has like several coves, and in one of the coves there's a gentleman who built this phone booth. Uh, he actually did it for a cousin who passed away before the tsunami, so it wasn't built for a tsunami victim. He had a cousin who passed away, and he missed him, and he wanted to talk to him, so he built this phone booth with a phone that's unconnected, so he could talk to his cousin and send him messages, and just to kind of console him, make him feel better about the situation. And that was in 2010. He built it. The next year, the tsunami happened, and people started visiting him. They heard about this phone booth, and it became connected to that. And so more and more of the victims' families would go there and send messages, and it became internationally famous. I was on the BBC, everything. I think there were the movies made of it too, and people around the world went there to go there. If you had a loved one who passed away, they would go there to try and talk to them. So it was
Wow.
it's a beautiful place, very peaceful place in an herb garden, overlooking the coast there. It's a really, really nice place.
Wow. That's amazing. And what is the connection with Easter Island? You see some of the Moa statues there?
Yeah, I didn't understand it at first. I went to Minami Sanriku and I saw these moai statues, and the Japanese like to make everything into a mascot, the cute little moai everywhere. So I was like, what is that? And when you go downtown, uh, a small downtown, there's the moai statue there, and it explains that in 1960, the Chilean earthquake about 40, I think it was 42 people in Minami-Sanriku passed away from that earthquake. And since then, I guess there's been a connection between the communities in Chile and Minami-Sanriku. And somebody visited a dignitary from Chile, so they built this monument there for the victims of that Chilean earthquake in 1960. So they adopted it as the mascot and the symbol of Minami-Sanriku.
Wow. That's an amazing story. Yeah, something very unexpected you would not think to find in any area of Japan, especially
Yeah,
in, a rebuilt, devastated area. It's amazing.
yeah, yeah,
I also really enjoyed seeing your pictures from, is it Ochijuku, the village in Fukushima? Can you tell us about that?
So there's several juku in I guess even between Edo, sorry, Tokyo and Osaka too, and in the north between Aiza and Nikko. Aiza Wakamatsu is a city in the western side of Fukushima, and to Nikko, I guess many about I don't know, a few hundred years ago, they would have to walk. There was a road connecting them, and the jukus is where they would stop. So Ochijuku is the second stop from Aizu City, and they've uh, rebuilt this Juku, the post town, and it looks like it was, maybe a couple hundred years ago. So it's all the thatched roof houses, and you can stay there. There's the Minshuku. You can stay overnight, and there's restaurants there too. So it's just basically one street. It's a very, very small place, but it's really beautiful in the mountains. And Fukushima is not usually the first place everybody has in mind, but it's I think that makes it a little bit better. It's a little bit more remote, a lot quieter too, especially in wintertime.
Yeah, I love seeing you were sampling some of the sake. Sake is really
Yeah,
famous from Fukushima. You were
yeah,
talking about the thatched roof. So these are very traditional thatched roof. You often do not find in other areas of Japan to have that thick insulated roof. And it's just
yeah.
so nice and refreshing to see you enjoying travel in another part of Fukushima and to be reminded how big Fukushima is. That it's not just the one devastated by the nuclear disaster
No.
area, it is actually a very wide, very beautiful prefecture, right?
Oh, there's Mount Bandai, a beautiful mountain, and the Lake Inawashiro right underneath it. That's a popular vacationing spot, camping spot. It's just absolutely beautiful, stunning place. I had no idea. This is it was my first time in Tohoku, so I'm kind of a beginner with that. But I would definitely go back, 100%. Unfortunately, winter limited what you could do and what was open, especially now with COVID. But 100% will go back to Fukushima. That's such a beautiful natural area there, especially in the west in Aizu.
Yeah. We have a question from Timo, which I was going to ask next. Did you get closer to the nuclear plant? Did you go
No,
near?
I didn't at all. The closest I got was Koriyama, which is a stop on the Shinkansen. I think it's 50 kilometers away. And Aizu Wakamatsu is 100. So I was about 100 kilometers away there.
Did
But
you
obviously some,
see did you see dosimeters around? Did you see any places where they, because often around the area they will have dosimeters around because of course a lot of residents are very worried about that as well. Well, more worried than visitors, of course.
the only thing I did do is that I have to admit, I did search online for the city's website to see what radiation levels were. Uh, I'm wondering, maybe you can answer this. I'm sure you've interviewed people who know about this. They give you maybe 4 or 5 locations in the city. I don't know how many dosimeters they have up. So those 4 or 5 places, is there one dosimeter just telling you, okay, this spot is okay? So those 5 spots are okay, but what about 50 meters away, or what about
Yeah.
100 meters
No,
away?
that is a really interesting question. And I interviewed Asby Brown, the lead researcher at Safecast, and their thing is public input of data from around the world after the Fukushima disaster to do radiation readings around Japan, not just around the area. So they have a lot of people moving around, and it's, of course, radiation does not move in a concentric circle. So
No.
there are areas in Chiba or near Tokyo which had higher readings than places not too far from Fukushima. So it's really, there's a lot that isn't clear, and it's
No.
less than transparent. So it's
Yeah.
nice that there are organizations like that which are trying to share the information more clearly.
That's what I was. Yeah, that's very important. I was reading past articles too, just to see what the situation was like. I guess they said that in one of the stadiums in Fukushima, they found a hot spot there, uh, and the only reason they did was because there was going to be the Olympic ceremony. The torch relay started there, so and it was 2019 September. They found a hot spot in the parking lot. So do you know what I mean? Are you in a where you're standing? Could there be a hotspot there? You never know. They can't check everywhere.
Yeah.
I think I did see they had like 250,000 dosimeters, which is a lot. But you never, where you're standing, is that a hot spot? How much are you getting exposed to? There's so many variables. It's just that
There
makes it
is,
really kind of
but I
frightening.
think it is really important for people to realize that this is still continuing. This Fukushima disaster is not
Yeah,
completed. It's not over, and
no,
there isn't really an end in sight. So it is a continuing process and a continuing problem, even though it's out of the news, which is a big problem. And so, if you're interested, have a look at Safecast. Uh,
Safecast. Okay,
search for Safecast, and they've got all the data uploaded by people around the country about radiation. They're also starting to do things about pollution. So
okay,
definitely a
I
great
will.
resource. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Getting back to some of the areas, you saw the Miracle Pine. I am so amazed by this story. Can you tell us about the Miracle Pine that you saw?
Yeah, so in Rikuzen Takata, one of the places that was devastated, uh, I think I mentioned 80% of the town was destroyed, 80% of the buildings, and in the waterfront there was a forest of 70,000 trees, and the tsunami wiped out that forest, and one pine tree was left standing, that one lone pine. So the one that I saw there was not the original. That did die. The one that was, there was one left, but it did die 1 year later. So they put another one there just to kind of as a memory of that other one that did survive from all those trees. So it's a it's a nice story. And the reason why it did survive is one of the pictures I showed you, I sent you, was there was another building in front of it, and it was a hostel. It was actually a backpackers hostel. That building blocked any of the trees that were in front of it, so that was another reason why that pine was left standing. So they left the hostel there to show that was kind of like a barrier to that too. So
Is
they
that
put
that
a tree.
red? Is that the red structure? Was that the building?
No, it was a beige one
Oh
right in
yeah,
front
yeah.
of the.
It's
You
like a
can see,
long broken one.
yeah, right, that one. So they kept that there, and they kept the tree as a new one, but just a memory of what happened and what was left. And they do have seedlings. If you go to the wall, if I showed the museum picture there for you, kind of that modern museum, you walk up a path to the waterfront on the breakwater, and there's a memorial at the top of the breakwater there. And underneath the breakwater are all the seedlings. So they're trying to rebuild that forest right on the waterfront there, but they're very small. But that's a start, I guess. So
Yeah. No, it's great to see, and it must be so powerful to visit there. I'd really like to get there someday, and I've talked to Angela Ortiz, who started Place to Grow, organization helping local communities. from the devastation, and just keep supporting them. So even though the area is kind of being rebuilt, it's nice that they keep these remnants of what happened so you can see it for your own eyes. I think
Yeah.
this is really important in Hiroshima as well, that they keep the A-bomb dome, right? They keep a structure that shows you the devastation, and you can
Hmm.
imagine everything around it was flattened. This was the only thing standing. And then because it's still standing, it feels more powerful as a visitor. Hiroshima is a
Yeah.
modern city now. So if that wasn't there, you would have no context in your
Yes.
visit,
Right.
right? So
Right.
so this gives a sense of powerful context. And it's really interesting, isn't it? I'm glad they've done it that way.
Yeah. I'm sure they're. I mean, I hope they're going to rebuild it and fill all that in, and people are going to come in. I don't know about. I mean, rural Japan in general. I guess the population is going down anyways because the younger people are moving to the city. So even without these disasters, that they have that working against it. But I do hope that. I mean, it is a beautiful place, an amazing place, and I hope they do fill those spots in, and then they do keep that structure to like you said, remind people of what. I don't think they'll ever will forget, obviously, but for anybody coming there from outside or anywhere, just to remind them what happened here, never forget that.
Yeah. We have a lot of people asking for your food scopes, your Japanese favorite food, your snacks and drinks. So this is obviously something that you do, and I love this about your scopes, though, Dave, is that you have a real variety to engage with people on different levels, right? Like you are showing us Japanese heritage and Japanese culture and Japanese
Yeah,
history, right? But you're also showing us like the place where you can buy lamune or Japanese, the latest Kit Kats, So I love that you're doing kind of a diverse stream so that there's a little bit of something for everyone. I love that.
yeah. I think it's important to try and connect with as many people as possible. And I mean, it's again, we're lucky to live here for many reasons because the culture is. There's so many aspects to Japanese culture that you can bring to people, and I'm taking something from everywhere and trying to show it to people. So that's just I'm just appreciative of where I am and the things that we can pull from it and to show the world. So
Yeah, awesome. Some of the other scopes that I've really enjoyed that you've done recently on your other travels, of course, we talked about Hakuba a little bit. You had such beautiful photos from there. Can you tell us a little bit about going to Nikko or Hakuba Nagano?
Hakuba was where the ski resort. I went to that beautiful view. Uh, I saw it on. I think I saw it on Instagram. It was just a place that I found on Instagram, and there's a. I mean, it's a pretty simple place. It's City Bakery. I guess it's a New York City chain. They built that lookout there over the mountains, and it's on Iwatate Mountain, I think it is. And you can go up there as a tourist too. I mean, most people go there for skiing in the winter, but you can go up there as a tourist and just enjoy the day there, looking over that beautiful view. And yeah, it's a great day. And it's popular all year round. The view in the springtime is amazing too. I'm definitely going to go there in the springtime.
Yeah.
Uh, so that was a beautiful spot. Nikko is in Tochigi, just north of Tokyo. They're about 1 hour and a half north, and it's a World Heritage Site. Toshogu is where Tokugawa Ieyasu is buried, and that's what it's known for. And it's just the most lavish temple in Japan. It's very unlike other Japanese temples. Most Japanese temples are quite simple in their construction, but that is just such a lavish temple. I guess I said that it's suitable for a shogun, for the most famous shogun to be buried there. Something suitable for him and what he accomplished and what he represented. So
Yeah, beautiful. Let me see if I can find one of your photos here. So going into Toshogu, and the beautiful torii gate. It looks like maybe a stone or cement. I want to say stone torii gate at the beginning, and then when you went
Yeah.
inside, such ornate towers and
Oh,
buildings. That
wow.
was amazing trip.
Yeah. There's the storehouses, the paintings and the carvings in the wood. Even just the stable where he kept his horse is just so beautiful. The beautiful carvings on there, and then the gate. I forget the name of the gate, but just that was the most ornate gate you just don't see that in Japan. That level of detail and luxury, I guess, is just so beautiful.
Yeah, gorgeous. Let me see if I can bring up the gate here for people to see. Yeah, beautiful. And so much detail. So
Yeah,
it looks like it's in such good condition. Did you find that? The upkeep?
yeah, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I'm sure they they've restored it and maintain it too. And again, traveling now during the pandemic and in a time when there's no tourists there, that's actually there's very few people there too that you can actually enjoy it. On any other time, I've heard it's not like that. So my sense of these places, and even what I showed people, my sense of how busy they really are is kind of warped because of the situation and the circumstances now.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, one of the things about Japanese temples, and were these buildings, were they made of wood when you visited the temples and shrines? Were the inside all made of wood? It looks like it.
yes, yes, they were. Yeah,
And
right.
so Asby Brown is an architect, and he studied Japanese temple design and carpentry. And
Mhm.
he explained to us that all the pieces are interlocking. They're fitted together like jigsaw puzzles, that there are no nails.
There's
And
no
the
nails.
reason
Yeah.
they did that was so they could be moved in case of a natural disaster,
Oh,
or if one piece was rotten and the rest was okay, just replace that one piece. And it's absolutely incredible, isn't it? That these buildings have lasted 1,000 years and they're just so beautifully fitted together
the
perfectly.
one, yeah, the one thing I remember was that I went to Yamagata. I sent you, I think I sent the photo of the pagoda in the middle of the forest. And also in Nikko, there's also another five-story pagoda. Both of those structures, they have in the center of the structure, there's like a pendulum hanging there, a massive piece of wood hanging down. It's not touching the ground. And the reason why it's there is if there is an earthquake, it'll stabilize. It won't fall right over. It'll just kind of bounce around around that pendulum and keep it standing, which is
That's
amazing.
amazing. That's amazing. I really loved your visit to the tall cedars, the forest, and then the shrine. Can you tell us about that?
That's in Togakushi Shrine, which is in a mountain outside of Nagano. Took about 1 hour to go there. It's something I found out later was a very popular spot, and sometimes traffic is, uh, backed up for hours. But again, because of the situation, there was nobody there. Winter, there's obviously fewer people, but there's a series of three shrines up the mountain. There's the Okusha is the one that I went to, the farthest one at the top, the most scenic and the most beautiful. It's 2 kilometers lined with massive cedars, and there's a gate, and at the top at the top of the mountain, well, I shouldn't say top of the mountain, at the end of the route, there's the temple at the top. You're supposed to visit in that order, the highest temple first, then the Chusha, which is the middle temple, and then the lower one at the bottom. But I visited just that one. I just wanted to take some photos, and it was the most scenic one. But yeah, that was really beautiful. Togakushi, it's called.
Yeah, that's gorgeous. And I love the crunching through the snow, going slowly through the pines, and then this amazing bright red shrine gate. Is
Yeah,
just so beautiful.
it is. Yeah. Really beautiful.
Yeah. So, tell us a little bit about your live streaming strategy. I think I've worked out some of your strategy. So you start kind of at the wow point, and then you wander around, and then you end again at the same wow point, so that people who join at different times might be able to enjoy the wow, the big sight, but not just have it at the beginning or the end, but you have it, you go around it, you come back to it. Is that your plan? It seems really good.
I don't, I don't, the secret is I have no plan. That's my plan. I just
No,
hope to God that there's a signal and then I
uh,
keep walking.
no,
No, but
you do
yeah,
it so well.
I do, I do absolutely focus on visuals. Yeah. I mean, it's a visual medium. That's one thing people are saying, talking about Clubhouse and Twitter Spaces. People are like, is this the end of live streaming? Are people not going to watch anymore? And, someone said to me, and I think too, the visual medium that doesn't encompass those Twitter Spaces and Clubhouse. That it will never overtake that, and people always want that visual aspect of it. So just focus on that and bring them the most amazing images that you can. I do. I do. I always think about framing. I always think about framing. How's this going to look to them? Somebody enjoying it at home, if they're at their TV, if they're looking at their phone. How am I going to keep them in the story and keep that path going? Keep the narrative moving as much as I can forward, and no dead spots. And keep them engaged. That's really important. So
Yeah. I think you're also so good at, even while you're going, even while you're concentrating on something else, you're still responding to everybody and saying, "Hey, welcome, nice to see you. Oh, it's been a long time." You've got a great rapport with all of your audience, and it's so impressive. I sometimes worry about you because sometimes you're walking down steep steps while you're doing it. It's like, please watch where you're going, Dave.
yeah, my mother watches while I do it too, so she's feeling even worse. Yeah, no, it's I mean that's part of it. No matter where you are, you got to engage with the people. I mean, it's not like I think, okay, I have to engage with them. These are people that I've known for 6 years. We've been doing this on this app for 6 years, and you build relationships with them. I don't Some people I've said I don't even know what they look like. I don't know what their name is, but they come and they watch and they engage and they want to hang out and they want to see the beautiful views and they enjoy it. So, and I appreciate that, and I enjoy their company too. That's what makes it. If they weren't there, it wouldn't be the same. I used to travel alone. This is one thing. This is why I do it. I used to travel alone all the time before live streaming, and with this medium, I don't have to travel alone again. I can be with my mother's watching, and these other friends of mine are watching around the world too. We can all travel together.
That's awesome. I'm showing your one of your latest streams on the following the sakura around Tokyo. You found some great spots. Tell us your insider tips. Where are the best places to see sakura? And kind of everywhere looks crowded, but kind of avoid the crowds a little bit.
So I'm pretty well a beginner with Tokyo. I'm not really good at the deep Kyoto, deep Tokyo, but I just I hit the main spots. And again, because of the situation, I think in any other circumstances, outside of the pandemic and outside of no tourists being in here, I would probably never come here. But Shinjuku Goen was what a beautiful spot. I've never been there. It was my first time, and that is just, I mean, it's like, yeah, they say the Central Park of Tokyo. What a beautiful open space to wander, and all the beautiful cherry trees. So much space there. It wasn't that busy. I have a feeling that any other time of year it would be insane, but it was actually, I had my own space there, so I wasn't too worried. Around the Royal Palace too, on the moats around there was really, really beautiful. And where did I go yesterday? Yeah, Yasukuni Shrine. that was a beautiful spot too. Again,
Yeah,
not too busy.
Yasukuni Shrine is a little uh, politically sensitive, shall we say?
Yeah,
But it just looked gorgeous. So you hit all the big places. You also went to Ueno Park, which had a lot of flack
yeah.
last year. They tried to close it because too many people were going during the coronavirus time.
Oh,
Um,
really?
but I think we're a little bit more calm this year about it. People are
Yeah.
wearing masks, people are social distancing. Some horrible stories last spring in Japan. They cut down all these tulip parks or
Yeah.
places that had special blooms that people would want to come and see. I'm so glad they're not cutting down any cherry trees.
Oh my God.
That would be awful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know why they're discriminating against tulips, and I don't know why. I'm not sure. Yeah, I remember that. I remember that from last year. And the other red flowers, in the fall. I forget what they're called. The red flowers that bloom there, the wild ones. Do you remember those?
There's so many great blossoms in Japan. We've got about 5 more minutes. One
Okay.
interesting scope, which I think you did last year, which I want you to comment on, is you did a 360-degree camera experience inside a nuclear bomb shelter.
Oh yeah.
It was incredible. How did you do that? And tell us about that story.
I actually did that for a gig. I had a freelance gig with a phone company. They wanted me to experiment with their camera and do it in different circumstances. So one of the things I pitched to them was, I got this bomb shelter. I found this bomb shelter maker. Why don't we go in there and film it, and they'll explain it, and people can feel like they're right in there, what it's like. And they said, yeah, okay, go for it. So I went to it's a place in Kobe, a family business. They make bomb shelters. I can't remember the name off the top of my head. That was a few years ago. I actually uploaded it last year, but I did it like 3 or 4 years ago. And So we went in there, and they explain how they make it, all the parts, where it's from, how to survive in that bomb shelter, and it's under their house. It's an actual functional bomb shelter. And then at the end, I actually climbed out of it, like they would too. You actually have to climb out, break out from the back of it. Is how you do it. So yeah, it was a great experience, and got some really cool footage, and very educational too. Really educational experience. How to
And
survive a nuclear blast.
And it's, yeah, the one big thing for me was feeling so claustrophobic, even though I wasn't there and you were documenting it. But it was the one feeling for me was that I would rather die than stay in there. It was so hard to even watch it's such a
Yeah,
small space, right? But it was so interesting. And you were using this really interesting camera, which I'd never experienced on YouTube even. As you're watching, you can hit the up, down, side to side button and turn the camera around completely. That is
yeah.
really cool. Do you think we'll see more of this technology?
I think as the speeds get as the picture quality gets better. Right now, I think the highest I've seen is 10K. 10K. If you buy VR goggles, you can actually put on goggles and watch that movie and move your head around. If you have VR goggles like Oculus,
Wow.
and you can actually look around, but the resolution is too low, so it's not too bad. But as that gets higher, and the resolution becomes like 4K quality, then it's going to be amazing. It's almost like you're there. So I'm looking forward to that. VR is the future. Absolutely. Definitely VR is the future. I don't know if you've ever tried the Oculus. Once you put it on, I realized, oh my God, this is the future. This is unbelievable. And
Yeah.
it's not even, and it's in its infancy too. So
Wow.
as
No,
it gets better,
I'm really excited about the future of live streaming. Some people feel nauseous when they put on the VR goggles.
Yeah.
There's a woman who's been in the series. She's a Japanese teacher, but her specialty is teaching language to gamers. And so she's teaching the Japanese language you would need to do VR games and stuff. Aki,
Oh, wow.
she's amazing.
Oh, yeah, Ako.
Yeah,
Yes, I follow her. Yeah,
yeah,
I
she's
follow
awesome.
her. Yeah, she is good.
But do you foresee that happening more for live streaming? That we're going to see more of these 360 type cameras, even on our smartphones? Are they going to adapt to that?
I bet they will find some way to incorporate. Well, actually, the freelance job that I had was a 360 camera that you stick onto your smartphone. So yeah, that is probably something that is going to happen. And even now you can just use a 360 camera on its own to upload things to YouTube, which is what people do now. But yeah, I see more and more people they make their own clubs and lounges with other people with VR sets, and they're all hanging out together. They're having virtual conferences. One guy, he's a popular DJ. He has a dance club, so he plays the music, and people are dancing. Their avatars are dancing. So you're in your room dancing alone, but really you're dancing with other people too. So
Wow.
possibilities are endless. I think that's definitely the future.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, that is our hour. Thank you so much, Dave.
Thank you for having me, Joy.
That's awesome. And thank you for all the insights that you give us about culture, not only traditional culture, but pop culture, insights into daily life and intrigue and news. You've got a real great variety of things on your live streams. So, really appreciate all the work you're doing, Dave. Keep it up. Thank you so much.
You too, Joy. Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much for having me.
And thank you, everybody, for joining today and all your awesome comments. Really enjoyed talking and engaging with you guys. Hopefully, we can do this again sometime, Dave. Meet
For
up again
sure.
on HAPS, have another discussion.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
That's awesome. All right, everyone, we're going to end it here. I'm doing more live streams next week from my usual eCam. But next Friday, I'm meeting on here for another interview with Louise Puppy from New Zealand. And we're going to talk about sustainable travel ideas in New Zealand and Japan and compare and contrast. So that'll be fun on HAPS again next week. But from next Monday, I have Tyler E. She's a Osaka-based sustainable fashion guru.
Okay.
And on Tuesday, I'm talking to Winifred Bird. She wrote an interesting book about eating wild in the forest in Japan. So scavenging for forest food.
Oh.
So that'll be interesting. And then next Wednesday, the 31st, I'm talking with Lauren about renovating an old minka. And she's an artist who does a lot of the work herself. So that'll be really interesting.
Great.
Thank you, everybody. Please join again. Have a great day. Thanks, Dave.
Bye-bye.